Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Chilling with Legends. And let me tell you, I have the legend of all legends with me here today. It's none other than the man himself, one of three of the main founders of Axie Infinity. It is Jihoz, my friend. Welcome, bro. Nice to have you here. How are you doing today? Thanks for coming by the Axie Classic stream, bro. That was sick.
Oh yeah, man. That was sick. That was like a legendary moment. We actually have a bunch of co-founders. We actually have some that are like less known, right? There's Trung, there's Alex, there's me, but then there's also like Andy, CTO, and then Masamune, of course.
Bro, see, we've been talking for like 2 minutes and you're already dropping new information on me that I wasn't aware of. I didn't know there was more than just 3 founders, man. I've had the pleasure to meet Masamune. That's the main artist. Am I right about that?
I think of him as the creator of Axie because it came from his brain, what they looked like.
Maybe we can start off with you getting started in Axie. I know you came over from CryptoKitties and then you just started working and you started kind of like getting paid in Axies and stuff like that. So can you maybe like take us through that transition a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Now, I found CryptoKitties at the opportune moment, I think December 4th of 2017. I immediately was super interested because I believed in crypto at the time. I just thought that it was boring. I just, hadn't had the impetus to like fully go down the rabbit hole. Because it was like, if it was just about making money, I actually knew how to make money in many different other ways, right? Like trading stocks, etc. But when I learned about NFTs, I was like, okay, this is appealing to the collector in me, the gamer in me, and I wanted to get involved. So yeah, I started breeding CryptoKitties, became one of the top CryptoKitty breeders, maybe the top of all time. And it's, a little bit debatable. Actually, that's how I met Chuck and Cloud White and Freak, all from the CryptoKitty days, as well as Psychout and Trung, who were also, into CryptoKitties. Anyways, playing CryptoKitties, and it died down a little bit, right? But I still, had a lot of confidence in the future of NFTs. I thought that it was going to transform gaming and collecting and be like a fun way to show off what crypto and blockchain could do. So yeah, just like people are always looking for the next project these days, people were looking for the next thing. What would go on to pull another CryptoKitties like run? So I found Axie as a community member. There was actually a community member named Dunsty who introduced me. He sent me over his link. Yeah, so I took a look at it and I was immediately in love with the art. I thought that the art was beautiful, and yeah, I had this like special feeling when I got my first Axies. They could move, right? This was kind of innovative and new for NFTs at the time, that they actually moved and seemed like they were living, breathing. So yeah, I wanted more Axies, right? So I was like, okay, what can I do to get more? There was a program called the Helping Hands, kind of like mods at the time, where if you were, helping, answering questions, doing different things, making content, you could actually get AOC. AOC are ERC20 tokens that can be used to roll Origin Axies. There are actually still some AOC out there. I started doing work. I started hanging out in the Discord and educating, and yeah, I worked a little bit on the original white paper as well, and just started doing things to get involved.
That's really cool. Sounds like really just anything you could to kind of help the project, help the vision. For people that aren't familiar, what's the timeline look like on that? Like CryptoKitties kind of winding down, Jihoz and friends, I guess, kind of make the transition, because it wasn't just you that jumped over and then...
So Axie actually launched the Origin sale in mid-February. I want to say like February of 2018. But I actually didn't find the project until around March. Maybe just about a month after the Origin sale launched.
I guess I want to ask about like there's like a little period where I don't have much of an insight in, which is basically like 2018 early, and then like auto battlers. I don't know exactly when that took place, and so if you could maybe walk us through the timeline, because I kind of entered the picture like early 2021. So there's like a 2-year kind of like, I don't know what happened in that time. So if you could fill in that gap, that'd be dope.
Nobody knows. There are only a couple hundred people.
Let's hear it.
Only legends, and even the part of the Discord chats from back then, a lot of them got deleted. Right, so it's literally oral history, and looking at some of the posts from back then on Twitter and Medium. We didn't even use Substack for most of that time. So yeah, that was a really interesting time, man. So the Origin sale ended in April of 2018, and it actually didn't mint out. 3,000 Origins were minted. And we had raised around 600 ETH. And people were, what was the next thing, right? So people were excited for breeding. We launched breeding of the Axies in May. And then it was like battles, right? And battles were supposed to come out in the original roadmap around June of 2018. But yeah, like a lot of things, it ended up being a little bit more complex than that. That summer, we were like running alpha tests for the auto battle system. We launched the auto battles in, I think, October of 2018. So we were battling, you were getting experience points, but you couldn't actually use those experience points to breed. Eventually, then you could, we turned on the ability to breed using the experience points, so people started breeding. I remember, figuring out ways to get new community members to join. So we were actually buying Axie eggs from Kogo and Clumsier, who were breeding them, and giving them out to people, right? Like giving them out to people who own land in Decentraland, and giving them out to people who owned CryptoKitties, right? So it was kind of like our way of growing in those early days. But it was like, yeah, each day we would get maybe 10 on a good day new Axie holders. And then there was the land sale. We had this idea called the terrariums in the early days, which is basically, the idea. It's kind of like Tamagotchi, right? Like, every pet needs a terrarium, and it would be a place for your Axie to live where you can feed and pet it. Maybe we could do something more expensive, larger, right? So then we had the land sale. Yeah, so that was January of 2019. And then we started working on Classic, basically. I think that was the next thing, right? So it was like, okay, auto battles are cool, but people wanted a more responsive, lively, dynamic battle system, one where they felt like auto battles, it was like you just sent your Axies, set the position, you chose the order that they played their moves in, and then you sent them off, right? You just pressed the button to send them off the battle, and then they would find the battle, and then you could actually watch the match, right? But you weren't actually playing, and
Sure.
that's why it was an auto battle. And people were saying that they wanted a more responsive, dynamic system. So yeah, we started working on Classic. That was a lot of 2019, working on Classic, doing some alphas for that, testing. And yeah, that took us, right up until basically, winter of that year. So we released Classic around Christmas of 2019. That's also when we made the switch over from SLP. So we had experience points to breed, but people were like, hey, I want to buy experience points. We're like, well, if there's going to be a market, it's probably good for it to be tokenized.
Sure.
So then SLP came on the scene. And then yeah, Classic, launched. I think we had around 200 DAU. The data was good though, so we're like, okay, this is a solid game, but still, it was quite small. The leaderboards were a little bit different, so there was no AXS at the time. So rather than giving SLP through the leaderboards, right, you could earn SLP by playing the game. I think the first place was around $20 or something like that. So totally different times. Yeah, I think the biggest tournaments were around $1,000. That summer of 2020, it was DeFi summer, right? So people were starting to play around with Uniswap. A lot of altcoins were randomly pumping. And yeah, that's actually when some people discovered Axie from 4chan. And they're like, yo, this community is amazing. This game seems really interesting. We're just going to buy a lot of the SLP token. And they came in the Discord. They're like, we're going to buy it. We're going to make it go up a lot. People were like, yo, don't do that. SLP is for breeding. They're like, no, you guys are losers. See you on the other side. So then, yeah, SLP went up a crazy amount. And then that was kind of the first time we saw the power of play to earn, where, all of a sudden the user numbers started going up a lot. And we started to realize, hey, there's something about this ability, right, to earn a token, earn an ERC20 using an ERC 721. More people started finding out about Axie. Some big collectors started coming in and buying Mystics, Delphi Digital came in as well. And then in November, that's when things really started to heat up, where in November of 2020, right around the election, is when the Axis token launched on Binance. Right, and so that was kind of our, after that we got introduced to the broader crypto market.
So freaking cool. So I would say just from hearing that, man, there's a lot of things that I want to bring up, but it sounds really 2020 and Classic is kind of what caused the shift in a couple hundred people kind of playing Axie, and then it sounds like it kind of started to grow to the thousands. Probably hit, first 1,000, maybe 2,000. What were the numbers around the end of 2020?
I think around 19,000. 15,000 to 20,000 DAUs.
Interesting, yeah. And I think COVID had a big part of why things started to blow up and why things started to take off. We jump forward now to where we are today. So we go from back in the past and we kind of go to where we are today. Two things that came up in that last one, but the first one I'll go with is you're talking about terrariums and places for your Axies and a spot where you can like play with them and feed them and do all this cool stuff. Now with Axie Core, obviously we can set 5 Axies in our profile, which it kind of looks like it's a potential terrarium, right? And then where do you see this continuing to grow into? Maybe like what are some of the next Axie Core initiatives if you're able to kind of share them?
Yeah, sure. So Axie Core is the metagame that ties all Axie experiences together, right? It's like breeding, part upgrades that exists on app.axie and not within any single one Axie experience, right? So, when I think about Axie Core, I think about, the big thing that is important to execute on is part upgrades, right? Because when you can put your time, your effort, your energy into choosing some Axies that you actually want to progress, you have that kind of on-chain evolution. I think that's going to be fundamental innovation that a lot of projects start to look to. Just like, we invented a bunch of things that other projects kind of use this inspiration. I do think that, part upgrades with AXP and on-chain level and how that plays into part upgrades, I think that's all going to be, looked back upon as one of the next innovations that we brought to the market. And when I think about Axie Core, I get super excited because, I think about part upgrades, and that's something that we've been waiting for 5 years, as even community members, That's why I was interested in collecting Axies, was I wanted to find the Axies that I wanted to actually upgrade in game and to really show off, to make part of my identities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm super pumped for part upgrades as well, and just like you, I was familiar with Tamagotchi, and this is a Pokemon inspired universe as well to that point. So a lot of us, myself included, we can relate to that feeling of we want to progress our Axie or our little partner or our little buddy, whatever you want to kind of refer to it as. We want to have that feeling of progression and watching it grow and change over time. I don't know if we want to call it digital pet or what exactly your preferred term is, but please give us the preferred term and let us know what that kind of looks like.
We definitely want to lean into players forming close relationships with their Axies. Axies are more allies or our friends, more so than pets, With pets, there's kind of this unequal relationship. Whereas even with the Sapidae and the Axies, so that kind of that relationship is more, they're allies.
Allies, I like that. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed part 1 of my interview with Jiho. I do want to let you know that there will be a part 2 that is coming to this interview, so you guys can expect to see that on the channel here very, very soon. And as always, sending love and strength to everybody, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.